Hi and welcome back to Mike's Corner. Aliexpress is at it again and they've been bombarding me with all kinds of different bits and pieces. But this one particular thing stood out. Now I like my Atari 2600s and I like my kind of retro stuff as well. But this is Aliexpress's take on the Atari 2600 joystick. So let's have a look at the clone Atari 2600 joystick from Aliexpress. Let's get unboxing if it isn't already, because it's pretty unboxing itself again. Right, here we have the ergonomic, comfortable wireless controller. Well, it's definitely not wireless. This is the description on the listing. Ergonomic, comfortable wireless controller analog stick. 100% not wireless. No brand, as that's what I can really tell. Look, ergonomic. It's just complete fabrication. But look at the box. There's a bit of tape holding it together there. It tore here, obviously, and they've thrown a bit of tape over it there. But it's literally, yeah. At least it's still in there. Right, so the actual joystick is still in the box. Now, I actually have an authentic Atari 2600 joystick in the box. So if I grab that and put it side by side, there's a bit of a difference in the size. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a difference in the size of the joysticks, but we will be putting them side by side to see exactly how they are with each other. That it could be some padding in here that makes the box look bigger for protection, where there is zero protection in this one. So let's get back to this. Now, as we can see, we need to get this tape open. It's got your standard labels on it. Doesn't really mean nothing. There's no branding on it whatsoever. There's a barcode here, which I think might be interesting to see what the heck that is. So I'm going to scan that quickly and see what that is. Okay, with that scanned, that's what that is. That's just absolutely nothing. Let's get this open and see what the actual joystick looks like. Oh, gone in from the bottom. Okay, made in China. It's written on the bottom right there. Let's get this out. Okay, it feels smaller than what I remember. But oh, I don't remember the original having clicky switches in it. That's interesting. The cable, oh, yeah. I mean, this feels pretty cheap, but it looks functional. There's no kind of suction cup holes at the bottom of them, or even little kind of pads at the bottom as well. So that let's have a little look around this. It kind of moves up and down like the original one does. I wonder if you can actually use this rubber part on the original controller. Should we get an original controller out next to it and see how it kind of fares next to this one? Okay. Oh, so the box definitely hides a lot of the controller inside it. So we get this out and we get out the original controller. We'll do a side-by-side comparison here. Here are the two joysticks together. Now, a couple of things I've noticed. The actual fire button is a different colour. So that's more red than the orange kind of fire button they have on this one. As you can tell, when you move this one, there's no clicks. But on this one, there's a click. Now, some people may prefer that. The actual rubber itself looks pretty much the same. Maybe a little higher. Yeah, it's definitely a little higher. So if we put them side by side like that, you can see that the rubber part itself on this one is definitely higher than the original. Let's have a look underneath, see what the differences are here. The screw holes even look in the same spot. Look at that. That's interesting. But it's missing the actual rubber feet. That definitely interesting. The cable is also lesser quality, so you can see the original cable on this one compared to the actual clone cable on this one. So yeah, this one's got switches, nice clicky action actually, where this one has nothing like that. There is a kind of a very quiet click on here, but nowhere near the amount there is on here. Now I wonder if the parts are interchangeable, because they actually look pretty much the same. Again, the only thing that's really standing out is the cable and the rubber part, and obviously the made in China. But let's pop it open. Let's see what's inside, and maybe even pop this one open and see how they differ inside them. So here we have the two joysticks apart, and they're actually constructed pretty much the same. They have a PCB board with these metal pads on them. Now, if you have a look at the metal pads on the clone one, they're actually they stand out a bit more. So when you click them in, they make a nice noise. On the original Atari ones, they're quite a smooth finish on them compared to these ones. So when you actually press them in, they make hardly any noise at all. Now, there are a couple of other changes as well. So the actual fire button has no spring on it, where on the original one it has a spring. The actual other construction, apart from that, the colours are obviously different. They're kind of the same underneath. However, there is a bit of a change on the top, where this one has a little flat area, and where this one has a large flat area. So the buttons aren't the same, but they are interchangeable, so they are the same size. Now the top covers, the actual couple of things to note as well. If we slide out the plastic parts from the clone and the original, there is just a very couple of little changes here. So on the original one, the actual plastic is thicker to the clone one. But with modern plastics, this still feels pretty tough. If anything, there is less flex on the new one than there is on the Atari one. So yeah, that feels like a stronger plastic. So it could be the fact that this is dead old plastic and this is more modern plastic. That I would say that these parts are 100% interchangeable. You can see the actual differences underneath as well, where they've made slight changes to the actual design. But if I was to slide the actual replacement in an original housing, it slides in fine, no problems there, and I could actually put it over the top of the original again. So actually, if you've got one of these which has been chewed up, because you get that, with the actual plastic bit goes missing, then you get kids who chew on the actual plastic, you can actually just replace it and put one of those in. But there are some other things we can try here. So let's put the clone stick back in again and put the original stick back in again. Now, for example, if I've got a damaged top cover, will it fit on the original? So here's the original button. Here's the original PCB. And if I slide it in, it lines up perfectly with the holes. And it lines up perfectly with the base. Could you tell that that's had the top cover replaced with a clone? You couldn't, could you? So that, if you've got a broken or damaged, cracked top, you could buy a clone cover or a clone joystick and replace parts. It's all interchangeable. I'm not joking when I say it's all interchangeable. So a couple of differences underneath from the clones. So the clone appears to have more actual supports on it. So where the original didn't have any supports around here for sturdiness, the clone does. Now what we should probably do is weigh these up to see how they weigh, to see if there's more plastic in either one. But what we'd do first is just have a look at the bottom parts as well. So a couple of parts on the bottom to actually distinguish as well. So from the inside, so on the original, you can see you've got some indents that actually stick inside the joystick, where the clone has nothing. Apart from that, there's obviously a round circle here that's missing from the clone, and obviously underneath you've got the telltale signs of the Made in China logo, and there's a blanking plate here. My one come with the actual legs, which is nice. You've also got the mould mark on the original one too. But if you have a broken PCB, this would just slot straight in, and you could repair an original joystick with one of these PCBs. That you would have to actually solder the wires back onto it again. Now let's go and get the scales out and see what the differences are in the actual weight of the joystick. So what we're going to do, we're going to weigh the actual controllers to see what the differences in the weight is. So here we have the original top cover, put it on the scales, that's weighed as 60. Now we put the replacement, or what I like to call it clone cover, on as well. That's also 60. So these weigh exactly the same amount, which is surprising. Now let's put the original base on, 115. Now I think that the replacement stroke clone case is going to be lighter. 110, right. I think this is mostly down to the cable. So if we lay the cables side by side with each other, you can see there's a big size difference in the actual cable housing. Look at this. So I think a lot of the weight could be down to the actual Atari branded end caps. The cable is, by the looks, a little thinner, but not noticeably thinner. And what we're going to do now is do a final weigh-in of the actual controllers all back together again. So the original one comes in at 185. Now I will say that the original screws are quite a bit bigger than the actual clone screws. And we put the clone on as well. So 175. Now I think, as I said, the differences here in the weight is not to do with the plastics, it's to do with the cable and the actual screws as well. As the screw sizes on the original are much bigger than the ones on here. Okay, so I've loaded up a game on the Amiga 1200. I've plugged in the original Atari joystick in, and we're going to do a quick game to see how it feels, and then we're going to compare it to the clone joystick. So I'm going to load up, first off the bat, even though it's got the spring in the original Atari joystick, the fire button is very, very, very low down to click. But let's give it a shot, and let's see how it feels. Got to get, with this game, you've got to get to the top as quickly as possible, so you can base jump down. This was a base jumpers game for the Amiga 1200, and it's quite a lot of fun, really, especially when you're playing with loads of people. Ah, and I'm down already. Right, almost there. Oh gosh. So there's the problem with the fire button and its non-responsiveness. It's quite hard to get to where you want to go. Okay. Let's get up here, get out of the way. There we go, to the top of the building. Amazing. So we're going to fly down, and then we're going to plug in the clone joystick and see how that fares. Here we go. Okay, I'm in the center right now. And you've got to get down to the bottom without being snagged on anything. Oh my gosh. And you've got to put your parachute up before you die. Oh, I can't put my parachute up. Why can't I put it? Oh, I put it up too early. Way too early. But I survived. Way too early. Gosh, I lost that one. But let's plug in the clone joystick and see how that fares. So here we are back in the game again using the clone joystick. And let's see how that fares. I'll tell you straight away, the fire button feels better. It's more of a, there's more of a click to it, and the press down is better as well. So off we go. Let's see how far we go. Gosh, how is this feeling better? So straight off the bat, the joystick feels absolutely great. And I'm down. Gosh, let's get up here. The clickiness and the actual fire button feel nice. I don't feel like I'm mispressing like I was on the original joystick with that fire button. But here we go, down we go, and let's see how far I get without dying this time. The precision, there we go, come on. The precision of the joystick is actually quite nice. Whoa! Okay, almost there. How far at the bottom? I'm not sure. Okay, at least I'm not going to come last. There we go. So I'm down at the bottom. That is actually a really nice joystick. So we haven't actually talked about the price of this joystick. Do you want to know how much this joystick cost? Well, this joystick costs £4. That's right, just £4 for a pretty much clone of the Atari 2600 joystick. So that brings me to the end of this video, and what a surprise. Who would have thought that a clone Atari 2600 joystick would actually turn out to be okay? Now, if this has helped you and you've been thinking about getting a joystick for your Commodore, or your Amigas, or your Ataris, and you've been thinking of looking at one of these and thinking, oh, it's quite cheap, I'll get one of those. Go ahead, it's actually alright. However, don't buy them off eBay because they go from around £10 to £12. Get it from Aliexpress, you'll pay £4 for this joystick. And for that price, it's actually fine. Now, if this has helped you, please think about whacking the like and subscribe, helps me out as a channel. Throw a comment in, letting us know what you think. But as always, thanks for watching, and I will catch you next video.